charter county. So the Charter Counties Act says that this body, of the legislative body of a charter county, can determine its own policy, procedures, rules. Our charter says that this body shall adopt its rules. And so this is the process that this body is going through to adopt the rules for this current term, which is 25 through 28. So we don't do Robert's rules. We actually rely on the rules that you have before you. So these are the rules that govern our procedures,
All right, thank you, Councilman.
which you don't have a copy of. Okay.
Okay, we'll
Sorry.
make sure you get a copy. Yes. All right. Okay,
So
go ahead.
again, I'm gonna go through, but I'm not gonna go through every typographical change. You'll see some is just clarifying that something is for board versus committee, something is just changing capital letters or something like that. So I will not discuss those changes, but there are a few other items in here that I would like to discuss. So if we look at page 1, at the bottom of page 1, starting on lines 23 through 26, this is actually a process that's already currently in place. It's required by law. It's in here for committees. So we're just placing it here to make sure that it's clear this also applies to full board, which it does by law. The next page, again, just simple typographical cleanup type items. Again, cleanup type items. So we're going to have a bunch of cleanup items until we get to page, I think I have 12, but I'm gonna go page by page just so I don't miss anything. So when we get to page 12, so at the bottom of page 11, the beginning of page 12, there is a process by which the commission receives and processes contracts. Most of this language, like this red language on lines 13 through 17, is actually already in the book, deleted from lines 3 through 7. But this is us rearranging it in the order that it happens, so it's clear to individuals who review it that this is the process. So what this page says is that items are submitted to the chairperson. So everything that's submitted is technically filed through the chair's office. The chair then refers those items to staff for review. The chair then refers it to the appropriate committee. As you know, we have committee rules, and in this book before you, this book tells us where most items go, and then it leaves some discretion to the chairwoman to determine where items go based on these rules. So then items are referred by the chair to the appropriate committee, and then we added number 5, which just says that the committee shall expeditiously place those items on the agenda, which is the current process of what this body is currently, how this body is currently operating. So if there's no questions, I'm gonna keep moving. And then we're gonna keep going. And again, there's gonna be a bunch of cleanup stuff. Like we changed session to meeting because in some places we say meeting, some places we say session. Most of the time session means meeting. It's up in one area what it meant term. So I clarified all of that just in case for those who are reading this is clear. So these are the changes that you'll see as you go forward. So the next change that I would like to discuss, and I know I'm changing, but I believe we're on page 27. And most of this cleanup was discussed with staff. So these are things that sometimes we note throughout the year, the term, and we come back to try to just clean up for the next term. So if you're looking at page 27, line 16, this refers to the process by which the chairperson may recess a meeting if it's necessary to get the meeting back in order. It wasn't clear why it said for no longer than 20 minutes. I mean, it seems to me that depending on what's happening, the chair could say 5, and you don't have to be in recess for 20. So we took out 20 unless you all want to keep it. That way it gives the discretion to the chair based on the circumstances in that moment to determine how long that recess should be.
Commissioner Becker McCormick, this is preserved for the committee, but I'll allow you and Mr. Allen or Commissioner Colleen to speak if you'd like. I'll recognize you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Becker McCormick.
I was looking for you said on page 27,
27.
okay.
Right.
And it says 20 minutes, but
So no longer than 20. So if you wanted 30 minutes, you can have 30. Just gives the discretion to the chair to determine how long the recess will be, again, based on the circumstances that's happening in that moment, as opposed to this rule here. So
you're just removing no longer than
Yes.
20 minutes. Okay, that's, I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Do you have the strikeout version?
I do,
Commissioner?
that's
Okay.
what I just.
Okay.
And then on the next page, 28, you'll see this rule actually now that we have increased and improved our technology, the process for electronic voting and meeting can also occur now in committees. So we're making sure that this rule can now be applicable to both. So you'll see, instead of saying chambers, I said primary meeting location, just some more generic language to allow it to be applicable again to committees as opposed to just for boards, since our technology has improved. Looking at line 23. So this is the process for voting. And as you'll see, if you look at B, this talks about after question is stated and we're ready to vote, no one else can speak. It says that in number 3, according to staff, we don't do a request. A commissioner may request there was an excuse for another commissioner. The way we currently operate is that that commissioner requests their own excuse. They advise the chair or the clerk that their excuse. So we weren't sure why that was in there. It's not something we currently do, so we just struck it out. Okay, so these next couple of pages, again, is just that clarifying language. I'm going to page 31 at the very bottom, looking at line 27, and it's going to take you over to the next page. So there was one somewhat of an inconsistency in the book that wasn't clear that I'm trying to clarify here. So the rules say back in rule, I believe it's 9, that the chairperson appoints all membership to standing committees, task force, et cetera. But then this rule talks about subcommittees and how membership on a subcommittee can be appointed by the chair or the chair of the commission or the chair of the committee. But then there's another rule in the back that says that the chair of the subcommittee is appointed by the committee chair. So it was just a bunch of confusion in how that actually worked out. So we tried to clarify it. Since the rules say that the chairperson establishes membership, the chairperson still establishes membership. This chairperson can do so and appoint the chair of that subcommittee, or when they don't, then the committee chair can do so because this is a subcommittee of a committee. So we were just making these rules clear, and in a couple pages, I'll show you where the other language is that I struck out just to make sure that everyone's clear on the process of how it currently works and the rules are clear. So if there are no questions on that, I'm gonna keep moving. Again, we got a bunch of clerical items. I'm gonna take you over to page 36. At the bottom of page 36. So these are our uniform rules for our committees. And if you look at line 27 and 28, it says that a commissioner shall automatically be removed from a committee and the chairperson shall fill the vacancy. So I'm gonna start actually at line 24 to give you context. So if a commissioner misses 3 meetings and they're unexcused absences for 3 meetings, they're removed from a committee. Now, I don't know why that's in there, but they're elected to serve their constituents. So taking them off committees means they're not necessarily serving their constituents. That's not something that's ever happened. It's not clear why it's in here. We're proposing to remove it unless there's objection. Every commissioner should do their duty. So then if you move on, again, just some more clarifying information on page 37, line 25. So this rule talks about when the committee doesn't have a quorum, we can report out from the chair. Yes.
Sorry, Counselor, can you go back? I was just a little confounded on number 24 on page 36, Uniform Committee and Task Force Rules.
Yes.
You say if you miss more than 3 consecutive meetings that are unexcused, and then I noticed right below it, line 27, that's scratched out. The commissioner should automatically be removed.
Right.
And the chairperson of the commission shall fill the vacancy. So I'm just want some substance behind that because again, member of the UAW, you missed 2 meetings, you history, especially if it's unexcused. I've had to remove some committee people in the past. So is that similar language? But I see you got it crossed out. So
right. So because everyone here is elected, you're the
Okay.
elected official, you have some legal obligations. Your district is entitled to representation. By saying that the commissioner can't serve on a committee, arguably they're not representing their district. They're not doing their duties, but they're still getting their salaries. So
That was my
because
next
you
question.
can't take their salaries away, right? That's by ordinance. So if they're getting paid to do the job, the
Yeah.
ideal is that they should do the job and not be allowed not to do the job and still get paid for it.
Okay, so unexcused absences. I missed
Yes.
3 straight meetings. Not excused. That means I can miss 4 straight or 5 straight or 6 straight or.
Well, I think at that point, then we would have to look to the chairperson to determine what's the appropriate action that should be taken against that commissioner or with regards to that commissioner for not actually showing up to meetings.
Okay, thank you.
And going back to page 37, line 25. So this rule says that when a committee doesn't meet and have a quorum, they can't take action because they don't have a quorum. They can refer out from the chair. And it says currently that they refer only to full board, but we've had situations where Ways and Means may need to forward out to Kyle. So we're just giving an option to make sure that if it needs to go to another committee like Kyle, they have the opportunity to do so.
It's not restricted to just full board.
Correct. At the bottom of page 38, looking at line 27, that was again the rule I just mentioned 2 pages ago, where I was just trying to make sure everything is consistent throughout the book. Going over to page 39, rule 11, this is just clarifying what's required to be in the minutes. It wasn't sure, as staff looked at this, what some of this meant as far as recommendations and advice provided. We do a summary of discussion, which will encompass everything. So we're just clarifying the rules. Again, these next several pages are just clarifications.
Just a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
For 38, the bottom, it said the chair of the standing committee shall designate the chair of the subcommittee. Is there a reason why this is stricken?
Right, so as I mentioned with the rule a couple of pages ago, there's a rule in here that says that the chair determines membership on all committees. There's also the rule that talks about the chair or the committee chair being able to determine the membership or the chair of the subcommittee. So it was a little confusing. So we clarified that like a couple of pages ago.
Okay, so you're saying that the chair of the subcommittee can't no longer appoint a chair?
No,
Is that-
what we're saying is that on
Chair of
page,
Standing committee.
right,
the
so
stand-
on page 31, what this page says is that membership,
Let me go to 31. Okay,
membership on subcommittees may be appointed by the chair of the commission, and then it also said, or the chair of the committee, but it doesn't tell you in which instance it occurs. Now, we already have rules that say that the chairperson of the commission determines membership, so this is just clarifying how it works. So membership on a subcommittee is either determined by the chairperson of the body, and if the chairperson of the body doesn't do it, because maybe it's something that was created directly in that committee, then that committee chair would do it. So that line on page 38 just wasn't necessarily consistent with these other rules in the book, so I deleted that line and clarified it on page 31.
okay, so the subcommittee chair can appoint? Or only the chair? Because
No,
this says when
both.
not appointed
Yes, so if-
by the
Yes.
commission chairperson.
So if the commission chairperson, for example, creates a subcommittee of a committee, they're going to appoint the membership. However, in instances where the chair does not do that, then it's up to the committee chair to do so.
Okay. Okay, I just don't know why we're taking it out if that is the case, where
Because
The
because
subcommittee
this sentence is
chair.
inconsistent with the other sentence that says that the chair or the committee chair appoints the membership. I'm trying to make it, to clarify it, so if we ever have a subcommittee, we won't look at 2 different rules and think 2 different things. Right, the rule I just read on 31 already says that the committee chair can appoint membership on a subcommittee. But then you have this line that talks about the chair of the subcommittee. So I'm just trying to clarify it all in one place, so it's clear if we ever have a subcommittee, how that process works.
Okay, but it's saying the same thing you just said, right? It says the chair, on 38, it says the chair of the standing committee shall designate the chair of the subcommittee. Isn't that the
No,
same?
it's not, because it doesn't take into consideration the role of the chair of the commission, which is on page 31. Therefore, I clarify everything on page 31.
Okay, maybe I'm missing it. All right, I'm missing something.
Madam Chair,
Sure.
just to follow up on that, to make sure we don't have any issues here, the chair of the commission can appoint a subcommittee for any standing committee and say you're going to have this standing committee.
Mhm.
But then there's number 2, where a standing committee can appoint their own subcommittee. not initiated by the chair. And the chair of the standing committee can appoint the chair of the,
Standing committee. Of that subcommittee.
yeah, of the subcommittee. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I was
Yeah.
saying I'm not with removing.
Two types of subcommittees. One where the chair says, this committee, you're gonna have this subcommittee and here's on, who's on it. Or the
chair-
standing committee itself can say, hey, we need a little subcommittee to look into this. And the chair of the standing committee
So that
can
line
appoint.
has to be deleted because it doesn't take into consideration when the chairperson of the commission creates one. All of that is
Right.
taken care of on page
Inconsistent,
31.
yes.
Right, so we're just,
So there's
getting rid
two
of the
ways to
vacancy.
create a subcommittee.
Yeah. Right, through the chair or the chair of the standing committee.
Correct. And then whoever starts it,
Give,
Appoints.
appoints the chair to it, yeah.
yeah,
appoints
just
to it.
so there's clarification.
Okay.
Yeah.
Inconsistent, right.
I tried.
so I'm gonna move to page
Got it.
52. On page 52, there are a few rules that specifically tell you how to state a question, how to bring a motion.
Right.
We historically don't follow this exact wording, so we just deleted the wording. It doesn't change anything we do in our process other than makes it clear that you don't literally have to state it in this manner in order for it to be an appropriate motion. So that's page 52. Going over to page 54. Again, this is previous question, call of the question. I'm just making some clarifications in here, taking away that specific quote because we don't quote it that way and just making it clear that you just have, oh no, this is appeal of the chair, I'm sorry. And making it clear, you just have to make your motion clear that you're appealing the chair and tell us what you're appealing. So again, so commissioners don't have to pull out a book and say, this is that wording, but you still have that rule in place. And I think that may be all of the revisions, other than again, some of the clarifying language that's in the book. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay. Questions were asked along the way. We're gonna do this in two parts, if you will. These were the administrative and kind of grammatical changes that were discussed by staff. So with those strikeouts in this, that's presented to us. Again, we're gonna do this in two ways and then we'll wrap it all up. Is there a motion to approve the strikeouts and the language in this particular book?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the strikeouts and the addition in the book? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain?
Motion carries.
Okay. Now, part two. We have A, B, C, and D recommendations that were forwarded to myself that we will also dispose of. And what I mean by dispose of, they will either be approved to be added to the book or not. Make sure all commissioners have A, B, C, and D. Does everyone have it? Does anyone need a copy? Everyone has those?
Thanks, Ed. Right.
Okay. All right, so we'll have them read, discussed, and then a motion. So first, rule A, we're going to read, you want to continue to read, counsel?
Right. So looking at Rule A is a rule to, in a situation where commissioner violates the law, ordinance, rules, policy, procedure, or engages in conduct that impairs public
I'm
confidence.
sorry. It says Rule 11, can you, if everybody want to go to Rule
No,
11?
you don't have to go to Rule 11 because it's
Uh-huh.
not in the book.
Oh.
If you adopt it, I will put it in Rule 11. So I'm giving you the place where I would place it.
in Rule 11.
However,
And
right
just if
in
you
Rule
want to look to see what rule is right there, is under the duties of the chairperson as administrator. That's what Rule 11 is, so, okay.
So this rule says that in those instances, The chairperson of the commission on his or her own initiative or upon written request of three commissioners may initiate for consideration of the entire body, a resolution to sanction a commissioner. Sanctions will not exceed $500, and then the rule goes on to give you the process for that. So this is a rule that was proposed and is before you for consideration.
Okay, is there,
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
The last sentence of that first paragraph, I would move that be tabled, at least or stricken or tabled or not taken up as what we approved today. So if it's tabled, that's fine. If it's stricken, that's fine. But I don't think we should be at this point imposing any $500 sanctions on anybody. That needs a little bit more study than today.
okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I'd like to move to table this rule for today.
Okay.
Support
Okay,
the
well,
entire
The
rule.
whole,
yeah,
Yes.
it's similar,
Okay.
similarity is on D,
okay,
so,
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, and
Yep.
is that, okay,
yes.
Yes.
Just wanted to state that proposing this rule, we thought that it would be, one, it is illegal. We do have the authority to do this, but like you said, Commissioner Paramara, we want to do some further review as relates to actual implementing. And so that's why I support tabling that, because we want to make sure we have a process for implementing. So we should do more research and potentially come back to this issue.
Very good.
Okay. Yes,
Do we have any definitions that go with our rule book? To clarify what terms
Like a
mean,
definition?
like some rule books have.
definitions at the.
Yeah, so I would just ask, because even with this rule, what is conduct that impairs public confidence? What does that mean? So I think we would have to clarify what that means as well.
Okay, we can,
So
can look at
just a
that.
thought.
thank you.
Yeah, I think, once we bring it back up, if
Is
we
it
bring
being-
it back up,
If
it's
it,
being
if
tabled.
it, moves to be tabled, then, we can, if it comes back up, then we can discuss what that is. Go ahead, Commissioner Khalil.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just following up on that, our friends from Lansing are familiar with when you get a bill up there, the first page or page and a half is a definition of terms, what they mean within the bill. So that might not be a bad idea to have that right at the beginning, because a lot of your red lines
Mhm.
were to try to get at that, make sure we have the right definition, instead of meeting, you say something, so it might not be a bad idea to have that definition of terms right at the beginning,
Okay, we
because
can
that's
just
also good
yeah.
for the public
understand. We
that
can
wants to.
consider that. I mean, there's a lot of terms, so that would take a little bit, more time, but we
Yeah, it
can
would.
start the process and maybe we can,
I just
come
think
back,
it's a good idea.
come back to it at some time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't do it now, we can certainly add it at some point, because this is always a committee that's standing, so if we don't do it in the next 2 weeks, we can come back to it.
Yeah. There are a lot of terms.
Yeah, a lot of terms. Yeah, so this been a motion to table this rule A. Moved and supported, moved by
Commissioner.
Dobbs, supported by Commissioner Kinlock. All in favor of tabling rule A, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Motion carries.
all right, next rule, rule B.
So through the chair to this honorable body, so this is a list of rule suggestions or amendments that were recommended or is being recommended. There are several in each section. So the first section you see talks about independence over district office budgets, which would, I'll sum up as saying, allow a commissioner autonomy over their budget, and the chairperson wouldn't have much of any discretion over that process. Number two is a suggestion to have a specific rule relating to the procurement process for Women's Commission in the Youth Council. However, because that's the rule. They're part of the commission, so ultimately they fall under our process that we do for everything. But that is the rule for that. Section 3 is a list of rules with regards to leadership. One looking for like specific terms of office and things of that nature. Number 4 is some rules regarding the travel policy. I'll indicate that while the travel policy is mentioned in the rules, the travel policy currently is a separate resolution. It's mentioned in here, but it's actually a separate resolution, which would be a separate action item. And then the last proposed rule is rules with regards to filling vacancies in the office of commissioner.
Okay, any discussion on anything on this page?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
So I received a copy of, I'm not sure what this is exactly. I don't know if any commissioners have it, but it kind of outlines like if you want to purchase items, office supplies.
Oh, that's,
cater-
yeah, when we had our meeting about 3 months ago, and we had all of our staff come in to talk about their process and
Mhm.
procedures, that's the process and procedures under Cynthia Douglas's office.
Okay, so it's not really our procedure or who,
Is the chair of the commission, whoever they may be, allocates how every department operates. So for communications, they have rules on how they operate and they give that information to the commissioners. I think Mr. Wilson probably had that in his orientation when he came on earlier this year. Council, Director of Policy, Cynthia Douglas, talked about how the commissioners and how the departments operate and how they should present things to be handled. So that's what that is.
so I guess for me and why I came up with this particular rule as far as the autonomy of the office to kind of operate, because it seems like there were emphasis to how we're supposed to operate
Mhm.
and how we're supposed to manage our budget. And it seems overreaching at times. And then this process, I just received it a couple weeks ago, didn't know that, you know, in some cases, I submit an invoice for payment of a office supplies or whatever it is in my office. I submit it to Cynthia sometime, then sometime I submit it to you. So it's a little confusing to operate that way. So I just really would like something in the rules to say this is how we operate so that there's no confusion. So that's really what these rules are about. And number 2, the Women's Council, Youth Council. As you know, the budget for the Youth Council went before the special committee, which the Women Council doesn't have a special committee. The Youth Council members asked for a process of procurement,
Mhm.
which I didn't have, other than the one in which we had between you and I.
Mhm.
So I'm just, again, trying to clarify what that looks like. So I don't know if it goes in this rule book or we come up with some other method, but there needs to be some clarification so there's not an overreach in powers or in my office, or I just need to be clear.
Mhm.
So, and then the third is the leadership elections. Since we're going into 4-year terms, we didn't really talk about what that looks like as far as elections of officers. And I think that needs to be cleared up as well. And again, I don't know if it's here or do we do a separate document? And the same with the travel policy. There is as the attorney, our staff attorney said, there's a portion in here that talks about very briefly the policy of travel and I just thought that needed to be cleared up, how that works as well. And of course, the filling of vacancies. We've had a lot of vacancies and there has been a lot of discrepancies about how we fill the vacancies. So I came up with a suggestion of how we could fill a vacancy. Now, where that goes, if it goes in the rule book or
Mhm.
it has to be part of our charter, I don't know, but those are the suggested changes that I came up with.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to the one part, the only part that I will speak to, and that is the independent district offices and budget autonomy. I want to just make it clear for the public in general who may be listening to us that commission offices do not have line items. We do not have autonomy separate from the overarching commission's budget. We have allotments, as it has been over the years, that is allotted to us from the chair, and we are to operate within those allotments. So the understanding or the thought that, and also I never knew that we could actually submit invoices outside of reimbursement for those items that are appropriate during travel. And so invoices and ordering of items, the procurement process is the ordinance that we follow, and it's generally for procurement goes through our central staff. So I wasn't aware that we could actually submit invoices for items within the operations of our office outside of the procurement processes. So just want to be clear, we do not have the autonomy to operate beyond what like these rules say, the equal allotment that's associated and assigned by the chair to each office. And we all have to follow very stringent guidelines to make sure we do not go over those allocations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna address really quick the travel piece. The travel, I am working on that. I've been working on it for a minute. It's close to being completed. So the travel piece is a policy. And with the other things that were mentioned, a lot of things are rules, and a lot of things are processes and procedures. I think a lot of these things are processes and procedures that I think we need to probably have another in-service on, just to make sure that all commissioners are clear on how to procure items, how to do invoices, how all of the things that you're mentioning here. We have another in-service to make sure that it's clear on what that looks like and what that is. Those are more processes on how we operate within our different departments, as opposed of a rule on how we operate as a body. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Khalil?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 5.
Mhm.
And I think Commission Council can, I forget right now if it's the state constitution or a state statute that says when there's a vacancy on a commission, and then it has like a 60-day thing in there, that the commission can either set up a special election to fill that vacancy, or the commission can appoint itself can appoint who that vacancy is. This seems to say we're only going to have one way we're going to do it.
Mm.
Is it the state law or the state constitution that says there's two methods for county commissions to fill vacancies?
So both state law and charter, but if you look at the state law, it says that this body has a right to fill a vacancy within 30 days. You have a right to make an appointment within 30 days. If that 30 days lapse and you don't make an appointment, then a special election is required.
But the commission can say we want a special election too.
The commission cannot fill that vacancy within 30 days and a
Which
special
triggers-
election will be required.
That before the 30-day clock starts, can't right from Jump Street, the commission say we're going to take the option of having a special election in that district?
If we don't fill the vacancy, it triggers.
Sorry?
It triggers that special election if no action is taken. So the commission can just not fill the
So
vacancy.
there's no choice right from the beginning.
Correct.
I would think then, and I'm going to go back and check the language on that. I would think then we would want to write in our rules, specify exactly what the charter and the state law says. Because here people might be operating in a little bit not in full information.
And
So I would recommend that we add the language in the charter and in the state law that says what procedures are, because this doesn't say anything about a 30-day.
Right, because we have, unfortunately, when it did happen, we followed the state law process. So I don't know if it's necessary to be redundant of what the state law says. The state law says that this body can appoint within 30 days, and if we do not appoint, then a special election needs to be had. I mean, that's it pretty much spelled out. So to put it in our rules was, redundant.
Well, to that point, though, I thought to clarify what our rules are when we do appoint, what that looks like. And so this process of filling a vacancy was within that 30-day window and how we could go about filling it if we decided to fill it. So that's all that this was, focused on.
The
It
process.
wasn't the special election. So,
Within the 30 days process.
right, within the 30 days. So
Okay.
I think we just need to figure out what that looks like so we can be consistent each time instead of kind of making things up as we go along. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Rule B? Any discussion on Rule B? Is there a motion for Rule B? Okay, hearing no motion, we'll go over to Rule C. Madam Counsel? Rule C?
Through the chair to this honorable body, so there are two rules on Rule C. The first one would amend Rule 1 to provide a somewhat of a process to remove an officer of the commission. So it simply says that by 2/3 vote, any officer, chair, vice chair pro tem may be removed. That will be added to Rule 1. Rule 2 is the rule with regards to our first organizational meeting of the year, and what's in blue is what's being added, and this is actually language directly from the charter, so we're being consistent, that at that first meeting, you shall elect the chairperson and other officers. So those are the two proposed revisions for Rules 1 and 2 of your book.
Okay, this is Rule C. Is there a motion for adding Rule 1 and the language of Rule 2? Is there a motion to do something with this?
Madam Chair,
I have Commissioner Palomero.
Move approval?
It's been moved. Is there support for Rule 2? I mean, it's Rule C.
We'll see.
Okay,
Both 1 and 2.
okay, this is motion to approve Rule 1 and Rule 2 of Rule C. Any discussion on this? Commissioner Wilson?
I just for my own personal edification, rule number 1, chairperson, vice chair pro tempore may be removed as an officer by the commission vote of 2/3. Do they have to engage in any type of malfeasance, any type of misconduct, or you can just get 2/3 of the commission saying, hey, this guy got to go, I don't like him, have a nice day?
pretty much.
Is it? Okay. Is that- Oh, okay, I'm just, okay. So, okay, so elected position, I mean, we talked about that earlier. It's a little different, right? Because you're elected, you can take them,
It's a
reassign them
privilege.
from a chair position, but you can't.
Right, so
If-
this is your officers, and obviously the
Okay.
officers serve at the discretion of the body. So if the body, for whatever reason, by 2/3 of that body wants a new officer to go in a different direction, or for whatever reason, they have an option to do so.
Okay, so just, not trying to be facetious, but if there's no statute that has been violated, if there's no incrimination,
The leadership serves at the pleasure of
Pleasure
this
of the
body.
body, period.
and this is the body right here, right?
The full commission, that's right.
All
Yeah,
15
All
commissioners.
right. Well, okay, I think I've just been clarified. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Commissioner
And to-
Wilson,
Oh,
Commissioner
thank you.
Wilson, Commissioner Wilson, we
Yes,
have
sir.
a term for that in French. It's called.
Pardon
coup-
me?
We have a term for that in
I
French.
can't
It's
hear
called
Tim
coup
keep whispering in
d'état.
my ears. Hold on, Tim. Hold on. Okay, sorry, Tim. What would you say, Commissioner Payne? I'm
I just
sorry.
said we have a term for that in French, coup d'état.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means, but
Oh, wow.
I don't think it's all that good, so we'll leave it
No,
alone.
not.
Okay, sounds, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner
Yeah,
Baker McCormick.
And to that point, for standing committee chairs, have we considered a rule for removing standing committee chairs? Cause that's for no cause, right? You could just remove them.
Yeah.
But will we want a vote from the commission
No.
for standing chairs?
No.
Commissioner Baydun?
I think the way we have been operating, this is at the discretion of the chair of the commission. That's been always the case, right?
Appointed authority.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but that's how it is, yeah.
Well, I think the rules dictate that the chair appoints the committee chairs,
Mhm.
therefore they can unappoint the committee chairs. So there could be something that says otherwise, but that's the rule that's in the book that we've been following for the last 40 years.
And that is in line with how legislative bodies operate.
Correct.
That is not out of line at all.
Did we vote? Okay, I'm sorry. Any more discussion on Rule 1 and 2 on Rule C? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Motion carries.
All right, and D. All right, Madam Council.
So through the chair, so starting at the top, there are two rules on this page. Both would amend Rule 11. First one would add a new subsection C, and this is a rule with regards to censuring, a censure of a commissioner. So it essentially says that the chairperson, upon his or her own initiative or by written request of 3 commissioners, may initiate a resolution to censure another commissioner. That resolution will be presented in writing to the body. The reasons for the censure will be placed on the record. The commissioner who is subject to that will have an opportunity to address the body and the matter, and it requires a majority vote. I will say that a majority vote is consistent with how the Congress and legislature also do their censures.
Okay, that's 10.
That is 10.
And read 11, please.
So the new rule subsection 11 indicates another method of where a commissioner, if they violate an applicable rule, decision, or procedure of this body, engages in conduct that impairs public confidence, the chairperson may have the authority to decline or reduce their expenditure for travel. And B is that the chairperson could reduce their base office allocation. So currently, the rules require an equal base amount for all commissioners. This would allow the chairperson to reduce that based on whatever's happening at that time in their discretion. Now, the commissioner who is subject to that can appeal that to the full body with 2/3 votes. That can be overridden, so they have an opportunity to appeal it to the body if they deem the action of the chairperson to be unreasonable.
Madam
Any
Chair,
discussion on 10 and 11? Commissioner Kinlock?
Madam Chair, move approval.
I'll support.
Moved by Commissioner Kinlock, supported by Commissioner Dobb. Any further discussion by the committee? Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Okay, so the censure for travel, if a commissioner transgresses or violates applicable law, these rules, a decision procedure, standard protocol. Okay, and I guess what is going to be determined, I guess, as applicable law? I guess that should be clarified, what you mean by
Law,
Um,
criminal law, applicable law, like any law.
transgression or violates, okay, then decline to reduce. So would this go before the commission? Seems like it would go before the commission, before there is any reduction of expenditures, rather than after the fact.
Let's see.
So this is,
Go ahead.
again, would be the authority and discretion of the chair. So the individual that you appoint as chair will have this authority. I didn't state, but I want to clarify that any reduction in your office budget, it's been determined by these rules that it can't be more than 50%, which will still allow a commissioner opportunity to have funds to operate their office, right? Because they're still a commissioner. They have to be able to have a staff person and other items. So the reduction that the chairperson can impose is limited because, again, we want to make sure that the commissioner has an opportunity to have funds to operate their office.
Okay, yeah, and it still seems extreme for one person to be able to take away a budget of a commissioner who was elected. I don't even know if that's legal, to do.
The budget is
So-
determined by the chairwoman or the
It-
chairperson. So the budget is determined by that person
it
and they're
may be
just have, have opportunity to.
Right, it may be determined by her, but who elects us is, for me, that's who my boss is. So I guess this doesn't even seem lawful, and I would like this to be really looked into before this is approved. I don't see how one person could have the power to take away the budget of another, especially 50% of it. I could see going to the commission as a whole and voting as you did in, I think, number 10 or Rule 11, number 10, going to the full board and getting at least 10 votes to remove something like that. But this seems really extreme to me anyway.
Thank you. Commissioner Palomero?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If it is approved today, it can be removed by a majority vote at full board, if somebody were to make that motion. I believe.
Is that what it says? I'm sorry. 2/3, I think the last sentence.
No, I'm just talking about the rule itself.
The rule itself.
The rule itself. I'm not talking about the 2/3 of to overturn the decision of the chair. I'm talking about the rule itself, if approved today,
It's being referred to the full
is
board.
going to the full board. And if somebody wants to make a motion to strike this rule, all they need is 8 votes to have this rule taken out.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Kinlock?
okay, right now, without this rule, the chair can do that anyway. The chair allocates yeah, absolutely. The chair has the ability to do that anyway, because at the end of, so all of the staff, the office budget, and all of the allocations
She
are
has
basically a
over,
privilege. It's a privilege. It is a
Finish the
privilege. We're not mandated
okay.
by any law or anything to say, require us to have individual staff offices, staff budgets. And we don't have individual office budgets. These are allocations. These are allocations based upon our rules. But at the
Right.
end of the day, the chair, the rules speak to the fact that the
Right.
chair make those allocations and they're equal. But what I'm saying is if you're misusing, overspending, and certain other activities, the chair can rein in and take certain actions to rein you in per the current rules.
So the current rules just says that the chair shall monitor expenditures of each commissioner. That's it.
But what, no, okay, so, okay.
Oh, can you correct me what?
If you refer to, it does say that, sorry.
Go
The
ahead.
chair has an opportunity to take action to bring that budget in line. I would have to pull it's in
Okay,
the
no, go
section
ahead.
that you're looking at.
I don't,
It's rule, I believe it's rule 11.
it talks about a shortfall. The chairperson shall meet with the commissioner if necessary and devise a plan for bringing expenditures back into balance before the end of the fiscal year. The chairperson of the commission may reevaluate, reallot allocations for commissioners at the beginning of each session. That's if you have, I guess, spent.
Exceeded, right.
Yeah, your
So there is
budget.
some point is there's some discretionary authority that's already can be taken associated with that, with the commissioner's office allocation.
If you look at that rule, Rule 11 sub 4, it says that the chairperson not only monitors, but they may order cessation of spending. So they can order spending stopped in order to get a commissioner back
So
in
this rule
line
isn't
with
necessary.
whatever their allotment is.
That's if they overspend or this has to do with their expenditures.
Or
That's
abuse.
what
Right, that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
looking at. But this has to do with whatever is deemed, I don't know, what did it say? This has to do with transgressions and violations of applicable law and stuff like that, not expenditures. That's what I'm alluding to.
Oh,
So this is a new section
mhm.
that's separate from what's already in the book.
So it further
So,
elaborates. yeah.
So if, again, if this is approved, but it's up to the body to approve it or not.
Mm.
And if there is a motion to strike it, that can be given at the full board,
Mm.
if it makes it to full board.
Right. So I made a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, we did have, okay,
it-
so,
I think
Sure,
we're
Commissioner
still in
Baker.
discussion, right?
yes,
Uh,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Commissioner Bay doing the Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you,
Sure.
Madam Chair. So, I mean, yeah, we are elected by the public. We're entrusted to do our jobs. I get that, but if I go out and start partying and spending a lot of the money of the commission, for example, fine dining and doing things that are not related to my job as a commissioner, I totally agree that the chairperson, the chairwoman or the chairperson can pull the plug on me and, and say, no, you can't be doing this. And, I mean, believe it or not, when I went to, the conference, in Macon a couple of times, I spent some money that I didn't have the conscience to even bill the county for it, even though I was there in a conference. And I said, it's okay. It's petty stuff, but, I mean, from your experience, Madam Chair, you've been here, and Joey, you can elaborate on this. You've been here on this commission longer than all of us. Did the commission chair person, woman or male, ever pull the plug on any commissioner or try to get them back in line? I think we're all adults and we're just trying to make sure that we have mechanism in place, if you will, in the rule book that we can, go back to. Did you ever have to do
To
anything
my
before?
knowledge, no.
No.
Joey, do you know?
I don't recall. I believe there have been some people who have overspent their allotment before that, I think that has happened in the past. I mean, somebody in M&B can correct me. I'm hoping it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I certainly don't, and I hope others don't. There's plenty of money here to communicate with our constituents and to hire a staff
Yes.
and run an office.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, just, okay, so for purposes of, recapitulation, for lack of a better term, rule number 11, section 10, it speaks to censorship. But I don't see any open or closed. Is it for 2 weeks? Is it for 30 days? Is it forever? Am I missing something here? If a commissioner is suspended or censured, I'm sorry.
It's not
censured.
suspended. It's a
Suspend- censured.
proverbial
Censured.
slap on the wrist of, hey,
Censured.
yes.
Censor.
Okay, well, pardon the expression, but censured. So if a commissioner is censured, upon the request of at least 3 commissioners serving, I mean, again, what is the duration?
Okay,
That's-
excuse me, Madam Chair. A censure is an official repudiation of an action or it's an official repudiation
Okay.
by the body or a statement. So it's not a punishment.
It's an official
It's
slap on the
basically,
wrist.
right. So,
Yeah.
but, yeah. And so,
I've seen quite a few censures in Congress, so
Yeah.
is this similar to that?
yeah, absolutely,
They're
state house,
Okay.
yes, it's a censure, a public statement, public, yeah.
Okay, so in addition, just since I'm on this topic, number 11 talks about for purposes of this subsection, the decision of the chairperson may be overturned. So it gives you a right to overturn any.
Correct.
So there's your democracy. I mean, 2/3 of the votes.
Due process.
Give you a right, due process, absolutely, to overturn any decision in this area. So, okay, I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I mean, I
you.
just want to go back, just one point. I want to clarify, Commissioner Baker McCormick. I am sure that the chairperson, whoever that chairperson is going to be reasonable in their action. In other words, they're not going to take something personal and just slash the commissioner's budget just for the heck of it. I believe there would be something reasonable for that action. Am I
There's,
correct?
in here it says the reason shall be stated on the record.
Right, so
they'll-
everybody will know what it is.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah, so.
Okay, and just to be clear, I think it already tells us in Rule 11, number 4, what can be done. It tells us that. It basically says that the commissioner, the chair shall meet with the commissioner if necessary to devise a plan for bringing expenditures back into balance. Rule number 11, and this new section 10, I get the censure, but this new process of taking someone's budget, I just think that that goes over and beyond. That's all. So I'm done.
Commissioner Dobb, haven't heard from you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't just about going over your budget. This is about if a commissioner does something that is against the law, correct?
Yes.
Is that what?
The law, these
This
rules.
isn't about just going over your budget.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
This is if a commissioner transgresses or violates applicable law, then you, as the current
Mhm.
chair, can take some of our budget away and take some of our travel budget away as sort of a punishment for doing something bad.
Unaddressed. Yeah.
Right.
And it states, I'm reading here, it says, if a commissioner transgresses or violates applicable law, these rules, a decision, procedure, or standard protocol of the commission, or engages in conduct that impairs the public confidence in this commission, the chair of the commission may X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So all of those, any one of those things, then triggers A and B.
And they're, like I said, there's due process right here. That's put in
Overturn,
here.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Overturn.
In the other instance, what you just read, there is no due process. The chair, and it's limited to the financial conduct and expenditures and going over budget, the section you're reading. But the chair solely, without due process, can absolutely make that decision.
And I get that. And the final thing I'll just say is that I just think it's a little overreaching for one person to say, okay, I'm going to come in and take away your budget. That's really what I'm referring to.
They
That's
can do it now. Call for the
Yeah.
question, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a call for the question.
Oh,
We have,
you-
oh, well, let's, oh, we have to vote. Yes, we're about to vote.
Yeah.
But if Commissioner Colleen has a comment, I will entertain his comment.
Clarifying
Sure.
question. We've used the phrase a couple of times here about, I went back to look at impairing the good name of the commission. What was that phrase we used in there?
Impairs the public confidence in the commission, the chairperson, or the
Yeah,
commission.
is there an objective standard for that somewhere in the law? Who's to decide what impairs public confidence?
The body, the legislative, the body. We want to have it broad because there may be certain unique circumstances, actions, activities, or conduct that might come into
Well,
the
it could
public
be, but it's
display.
a loosey-goosey
No,
term.
it's not loosey-goosey. We hope to never ever have to.
I
apply it.
understand that
So I'm
too.
saying, so the intent is not to actually ever have to implement it. But what we don't want to have to do is just, because of a conduct that's so unique and so egregious that we haven't, because we can't speak to our rules or any rules, all of the potential actions that may come in the future. So that's why it's generally written in such a broad way to be hopefully all
I
inclusive
don't know
and never
about
have to deal
generally
with.
written,
I'm saying,
Commissioner.
so I'm just, so there's
But
some
I think if we're
specifics
going to
of
use a
applicable
phrase
laws.
like that,
Mhm.
we should have
To me,
what
Tim,
the boundaries is.
to me, I read that as it's common sense. If something is so egregious that it just hits you in the face, then it's common sense. To me, that's what it is. It's gonna be
Correct.
some really egregious behavior that's going to trigger any of these rules. That's
Correct.
the way I read that. And I'm comfortable with it. And when we do vote, I plan to vote yes.
And my question was, but there is no legal
no
definition
definition.
of what that is.
No.
So it's a little bit open-ended. There's a lot of things
Case
that
by case.
people could feel aggrieved on. Like
So
passing a budget. People could go, oh my God. So I'm just a little cautious about that term
Mm.
and,
Okay.
comforting statements that, well, we're only going to do this in extremely
Yeah.
unique circumstances. Yeah, well,
Commissioner Wilson, did you have a question?
yeah, just, I guess I've determined that there are two safeguards at least, 2/3 of the vote.
Right.
And then you keep 50% of your budget in order to operate your.
Right.
in order to operate
Right.
your office, right? I think those are two safeguards.
We don't need a
And
loan.
I think, I think I also heard Counselor refer to prior to the meeting, when you talked about this body, the charter and how we devise the rules and the regulations and those types of things, as long as we're not in violation of any statute or any law, or is that correct? Is that what you,
That is correct.
okay.
All right, question was
All
called.
right, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Yeah. Okay, all right, well, that was good hearty debate.
We need another motion to move the rules as amended, or no? Are we all set?
We do, well, at the beginning of onset, I said we would take these each by each and then move them. So each of
So the
these,
vote was to move
so
forward.
all of these are
Each action we
so
took.
we moved everything that was in here, all the strikeouts, and then we just moved on. We tabled A. No action on B. We moved C and D.
So
And
that's-
they'll be presented to the body at our next meeting.
So the table remains in the committee and well,
But till the end of the year.
Yes,
If,
and-
if we have another meeting, we can dispose of it. It dies at the end of the year
Okay.
if we don't have another meeting.
and then the other one, B, dies on the floor in this committee because there
Yes,
was no action.
There was no action. Correct.
So just for clarification
Mhm.
purposes, so I don't know if the next meeting will be rules or for board, but I will present one document with all of the amendments and I would add a table of contents, just for clarification.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. This time, if we can go to public comments, please.
Public comments.
Yes, we have our esteemed county clerk here. You can set the table, County. I don't think so because I think the mic is never working. Yeah.
I think you
There you
can
go,
hear
there
me.
you go.
Okay. I am requesting through the chair to have more than 2 minutes. I did request prior to the meeting to speak. I have operated in good faith. But last night I did some late night reading of my emails, as I usually do. And I believe there was approximately 11 pages or more where I noticed some of the strikeouts that where it referenced the clerk, it was as well as counsel regarding the litigation for clerk to the clerk to the commission position. I've met with you. I've sent a letter to you. Let's discuss the matter. And so I just found that a little bit strange last night when I was reviewing that where the clerk is stricken. So I came over here to get understanding and to request that if the intent of that is to change the duties of what have been in stone over here since before you were here and I was here, but now because there's litigation and there's been a decision that the clerk is being stricken from over here. So I don't know if that was the intent. That's why I'm here. I noticed that the issue wasn't raised at the table, but what I am requesting of you and this body, if that is the case, that I'm asking if for nothing else, a professional courtesy to rescind and redact that and wait until, as we were doing, and I ask in writing, let's have a discussion to work things out and have your attorneys as well as the attorneys that represent the clerk's office. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong in my assumption, but it reeks. It really reeks of deceit. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will be in communication very soon. Thank you so much for coming over. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Any other public comments? Any other public comments on Zoom or emails?
No emails.
Emails? Any other public comments? All right. Next item?
Such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
No such other matters.
Adjournment.
All right, thank you all so much.